too many times.
You love working with Ron?
I do. As we can all attest, he is a horrible taskmaster.
If you've ever wondered whether Hollywood's nicest guy, Tom Hanks, has ever truly hated someone, you might be surprised to find out that yes, there is one name that breaks that golden boy image. Behind the kind smile and polite interviews lies a 35-year grudge that's still quietly simmering beneath Hollywood's polished surface. And the man on the other end of it, none other than Henry Winkler.
Every time you're on Watch What Happens Live, I ask you about the big Tom Hanks feud.
The actor America once knew as the Fonz. Now, these are two men you'd never expect to feud. Winkler, charming, warm, and universally beloved, and Hanks, the picture of professionalism and grace. But their history is proof that even the nicest faces in Hollywood can clash when ego, art, and timing collide. The story begins back in the late 1980s on a movie set that was supposed to be a lighthearted buddy film about a cop and his dog, Turner and Hooch. At the time, Henry Winkler had just transitioned from acting to directing. After the success of Happy Days, he wanted to build a second career behind the camera, and Disney gave him the shot. Tom Hanks, meanwhile, was already an established star, fresh off hits like Big and Splash. The studio believed pairing these two would be magic, the wholesome star and the beloved TV icon. Instead, it turned out to be gasoline and fire. Winkler spent 11 weeks prepping the film, scouting locations, rehearsing, bonding with the crew, even forming a real connection with the slobbery mastiff who played Hooch. Everything seemed fine until they took a trip to Carmel, a small, quiet town on the California coast. That's where things started to shift. Winkler later recalled the moment that, in hindsight, marked the beginning of the end.
But I don't want to ask you about that, but what I want to ask you is, you know everybody in town, you're out and about. Have you two never in the last 5 years run into each other in the Palisades?
Yes. I've run
and when you do you talk?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
I ran into Tom and Rita at an award show just before the pandemic.
We were in Carmel, this little seaside wonderful town. He said years later, a woman comes running out of a shop shouting, "Henry, Fonz, oh my God." And I said, "And of course you know Tom Hanks." It seemed innocent, just another fan encounter. But as Winkler later learned, that moment apparently rubbed someone the wrong way. The film's director of photography even told him later, "I knew this was going to happen on that day in Carmel." 13 days into filming, it did. Winkler was abruptly fired. After nearly 3 months of preparation, his dream project was yanked away. The studio replaced him with Roger Spottiswoode. And the tension between him and Hanks became one of the most whispered about feuds in Hollywood. Publicly, both men stayed professional, but privately, people close to the production say it was icy. Hanks didn't agree with Winkler's directing style. Winkler, who preferred a collaborative, relaxed process, often clashed with Hanks's laser-focused precision. They had different visions for the movie, and different ways of leading. To put it simply, they couldn't stand each other's approach. Years later, Winkler admitted his instincts had told him to walk away before it even began. "I told Disney I wasn't sure I was the right guy," he said, "but your ego gets involved. The head of Disney calls, and you think, a feature film. Oh my God." The excitement blinded him to what his gut already knew. This wasn't going to end well. After his firing, Winkler kept his head down. But when People magazine interviewed him in 1993, he couldn't resist a little jab. When asked about Turner and Hooch, he smirked and said, "Let's just say I got along better with Hooch than I did with Turner." Everyone knew exactly what that meant. Over the years, the rumor of the Hanks-Winkler feud turned into a kind of Hollywood folklore. People whispered about it on sets, brought it up in interviews, and waited to see if either man would finally break the silence. But whenever the topic came up, both dodged it with the grace of two men who'd learned how to play Hollywood's PR game. In 2019, a caller asked Winkler about it on Watch What Happens Live. He cupped his hand to his ear, pretending not to hear, before joking, "I got along great with that dog. I don't even remember the title of that movie." The audience laughed, but the avoidance was telling. A year later, TMZ cornered him and asked again if the feud was what everybody says and what is true are two different things. And yet, the story wouldn't die. In 2022, Winkler mentioned running into Tom and Rita Wilson at an award show. "It was very warm," he said, "cordial. But anyone who's ever had unresolved tension knows cordial is code for polite but not healed. There was warmth, yes, but not forgiveness, not closure." By 2023, director Ron Howard, who's close with both men, finally weighed in. They both talked to me about it. He told The Guardian, it was just one of those unfortunate things. They really had a working style that didn't fit. That's Hollywood speak for they couldn't stand each other. And then came May 2024, the year Winkler finally dropped his most direct comment yet. Appearing on the How to Fail podcast, he revisited Turner and Hooch and his firing. I did 11 weeks of preparation, he said. I knew this dog, this slobbery mastiff, and I became friends. The star did not become my friend. When asked if he meant Tom Hanks, he smiled and said, I probably do. That was the closest he's ever come to confirming what's been whispered for decades. That Tom Hanks, the nicest man in Hollywood, once made life so miserable for another actor that it ended a directing career before it could begin. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about a screaming match or a dramatic explosion on set. This was ego warfare. Two professionals who simply didn't mesh, but the fallout was massive. Winkler didn't direct another feature film for years, while Hanks went on to become the face of Hollywood decency. Forrest Gump, Saving Private Ryan, Cast Away, Toy Story, Philadelphia. The list goes on, but here's what makes this story sting. Winkler never spoke with resentment. In fact, his later interviews show a man who accepted what happened with grace, but never forgot it. It's as if he learned to live with the wound instead of trying to heal it. When your instinct tells you to walk away, he said, don't second guess it. Your instinct knows everything. Your head knows a little bit. And what about Tom Hanks? He's never once acknowledged the feud, never confirmed it, never denied it, never addressed Winkler's comments. For a man known for playing peacemakers and moral compasses, the silence almost feels intentional, like an unspoken acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, there's truth to it. It's the one crack in Hanks' otherwise spotless armor. And maybe that's what makes this story so fascinating. The idea that even America's dad has someone he just can't stand. In a town built on facades, this feud feels refreshingly human. Two men at the top of their game colliding in a moment of ego and creative control, leaving behind a wound that never quite healed. So yes, Tom Hanks might be the friendliest man in Hollywood, but ask Henry Winkler and he'll tell you with a polite grin, let's just say I got along better with the dog. And that, in Hollywood history, might be the kindest way anyone has ever said he hated me.
It was very warm. Rita, one of her first jobs was on Happy Days. Tom Hanks was on Happy Days.
That's right. So it's all very cordial. It's
all
only
very-
shit stirs
it's
like
all-
me that
yes,
bring
that's
this
right.
up. Yes. Okay. Good.
It's all very cordial.